Hey Wellness Warrior, I recently did a 3-day water fast. And before I got started with this fast, I thought to myself, it would be really cool to have some clinical data from this fast using research grade body composition scanners. This way I'd be able to know exactly how much fat I lost or even how much muscle I lost. So that's exactly what I did. And I'm really excited to share with you the results because they even surprised me. Let me first help you get an understanding of exactly how I fasted so you can understand how I got such crazy results. Now, I fasted for 3 days, eating no food. That was for 72 hours. During that time, I didn't drink coffee, I didn't drink tea, none of that. I only drank water. The only other things that I added in with that water were apple cider vinegar, which I drank 2 tablespoons in the morning and 2 tablespoons at night. And I also would use electrolyte powders. And I can't stress enough how important the electrolyte powder is because you want to make sure that you're keeping your electrolytes up. Otherwise, you will have a total lack of energy and feel really lousy. I'll put in the description more about the electrolytes I used. During the fast, I worked my normal hours seeing patients. I saw patients for 11 hours each day. While seeing patients, I am very physically active. So needless to say, I took a break from exercising while I was fasting because if anything, I needed more rest. I did not need more physical activity. I want to point out though, if I was doing a desk job and I knew I had a lot of office work that I was going to be doing during that 3-day water fast and not a whole lot of physical activity, I would make a point to do at least a 30-minute brisk walk a day in order to get better results while fasted. The next thing I did was use a research-grade body composition scanner in order to determine the changes that would happen during my fast. I did one prior to starting my fast and then I did one after. They look like this and they tell you a ton of information on your overall bodily health. Now, it tells you things like weight, the fat percentage on your body, your fat mass, your muscle mass, your BMI, even things like your metabolic age and how much visceral fat is on your organs. Now let me share with you the shocking results that I got from my 3-day water fast. Let's first talk about weight loss. I went from 183.6 pounds to 181 pounds. Now I know what you're thinking. Come on, like 2.6 pounds? That's not worth eating no food for 3 days. But there's a few things that we have to take into consideration here. The first is that I don't carry an excessive amount of body fat on my body. So therefore, I'm just not gonna see a huge drop in weight loss during a 3-day water fast. And the second thing to consider is that the devil is in the detail. Let me give you an example. There was a study back in 2016 on obese adults. And what they did is they took one group and they had them do 0-calorie fasting 2 days a week, and then they were able to eat regularly the rest of the week. Then they took another group and they would have them calorie restrict every day of the week. And they did this for 24 weeks, and the results were incredibly eye-opening. In terms of weight loss, the group that was doing fasting barely outperformed the group that was doing calorie restriction. But here's where fasting really shined. The group that was doing fasting lost 2 times more fat around the belly, and they also lost a total of 6 times more fat mass on their body than the group that was calorie restricting. Now let's go ahead and go back to my results. Now we mentioned before, I didn't lose much weight, almost like the people in those studies didn't really lose a whole lot of weight. But what happened to my fat percentage? This is where it gets really interesting. I went from 17.6 body fat to a 14.3% body fat. This means that in just a 3-day water fast, I lost 3.3% body fat, which is really incredible. Most doctors would tell you that that would be impossible to do in a healthy way. Now, my fat mass is also interesting to look at. I dropped from 32.2 pounds of fat mass on my body down to 27.8 pounds of fat. This means I lost 4.4 pounds of fat from my body in total. And when we look at my trunk, right around my core area, I went from an 18.1% body fat down to a 14.4% body fat, which means I lost a lot of belly fat. During the fast, the data shows that I had an increase in both muscle mass and also bone mass. So though I didn't lose a ton of weight, I saw a huge shift in body composition. And this is a really good thing. All of these changes were positive because we don't want all that excess body fat, but we do want to have an increase in muscle mass, good amounts of lean muscle, and also strong bones. When we look back at the 2016 study I just mentioned, it was so incredible because the group that was fasting 2 days a week, they lost 6 times more fat than the group that was doing calorie restriction. What was even more incredible about this is that the group that was doing calorie restriction, when they lost weight, it was in the way of both fat and muscle mass. But the fasting group, they only lost fat and they maintained muscle mass. And this is so important because while fasting, you actually get this huge boost of growth hormone in your body, and it helps you maintain both bone mass and muscle mass. Many years ago, when I first started fasting, I was very concerned that I was gonna lose all my muscle mass and I was gonna come back to the gym and feel lethargic and weak, and I'd just be really upset over it. But the fact is every time I do a 3-day water fast, I come back stronger, which still surprises me to this day. But what about your metabolism? Because you will surely destroy your metabolism if you're doing a 3-day water fast and you're not consuming any food, right? Well, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from people, but the facts are very different. If we look at the 2016 study, one of the things that it shows us is that the group that was doing calorie restriction, they in fact were destroying their metabolism. But the group that was doing fasting 2 days a week, they were actually able to increase their metabolism 2.5 times more than those who were doing calorie restriction. So here's what happened to my metabolism during the 3-day water fast. My BMR, which stands for basal metabolic rate, and that is basically looking at how many calories your body burns throughout the day just as a living human body, right? How many calories it takes for your brain to operate, your heart to function, and all your organs to function, right? That doesn't even include the physical activity you have throughout the day. My BMR increased from 2001 calories per day all the way up to 2053 calories per day. So I saw a 52-point increase in my BMR, which is significant for not eating food for 3 days. The body composition scanner also grades your metabolic age. And it's very often that when we do a scan with a patient that they'll have a metabolic age that's 20 years past their real age. Now, when I started this fast, I had a metabolic age of 26, which is already far below my actual age, so I was already proud of that. But after the 3-day water fast, my metabolic age dropped down to 18, which is truly incredible. The results are truly insane, and to be honest, they surprised me quite a bit, but they shouldn't, because the research shows us time and time again that one of the best ways to improve your metabolism is to do a good water fast. We have seen in the research that it helps you lose fat, maintain muscle mass, it helps you improve your insulin sensitivity, helps you break through a weight loss plateau so that you can get on the right track and start losing body fat again. Now, another incredible result from the 3-day water fast was looking at the amount of visceral fat on my body. Now, if you don't know what visceral fat is, it's that fat that's on your organs. It's very unhealthy, and pretty much every disease risk factor is increased if you have high amounts of visceral fat. It doesn't matter if it's cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. It's bad news. Now, as we look at this scan here, what it does is it ranges you from 0 to 30. 0 being very, very good, no visceral fat, which is very hard to get to, all the way up to 30, which is very bad. Now, when I started this fast, my first scan showed that I had a 5, okay? 0 is perfect. I was at a 5. By the time I ended the fast, my visceral fat went down to 4, okay? Which this is awesome because that means that it decreased disease risk factors in my future. Now, the body composition scanner certainly showed me many improvements in metrics across the board in my clinical data. However, I also experienced a decrease in many symptoms I was facing. I was starting to have some autoimmune flare-ups, which I've dealt with many times over the past several years, and doing the fast helped me get that under control. Also, I was having some different symptoms of gut conditions that were showing as well, and doing the 3-day water fast allowed my gastrointestinal system to rest, and those symptoms have all went away, showing a lot of really good improvements in my overall health. But what does this all mean for you? Well, if you want to decrease your fat mass, decrease your fat percentage on your body, decrease your visceral fat, improve your muscle mass, improve your bone mass, and really shift your body composition to a healthier state, well, even improving your metabolic age, then a 3-day water fast is going to be a really great solution to accomplish those goals. I'm Dr. Zyrowski, and I hope a 3-day water fast is in your future. If you like this video, I think you'll really like this video next.